afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Welcome back to Coffee Catch-Ups. It has been, wow, what are we talking about? Almost 3 months since I've been here for Coffee Catch-Ups. It's last episode we did was in December last year, but it's for very good reason. It has been all go at Wealth Mentor. It's been all go with myself as well. Heaps of elements going on in terms of creating content, in terms of a little bit of a shift, some new partners that we've been working on. Heaps of really cool things, including an epic new recruit as part of the team, and I'll inform you some of those details really shortly. But before I do go any further, it's always great to see you guys. So when you jump in here, I realize that it's first one of the year, so a couple of people might be a bit slow jumping in, but once you do jump in, make sure you drop in the comments and say hello. I do have the comments up on my screen as well. It is always nice to see those comments coming through and have a bit of a look at who I am talking to. So while you guys are jumping onto those, I guess it is very exciting to be here. It's the first episode of the year, and it has been a pretty crazy start to the year. In terms of Wealth Mentor, but also in terms of the world. I mean, for us here in New Zealand and for Australians, we've seen a very interesting time once again over the last few months, last 6 months or so, in terms of, we had Omicron come through and, cause a lot more concern once again, even though we thought we'd finally gotten over the whole COVID element, and all of a sudden, once again, there's another element of it. And then the amount of changes that we've seen within legislation, within tax legislation, both in Australia and New Zealand. And then on top of that, we've seen the crazy inflation, again, seeing unbelievable elements of house prices and all sorts happening in terms of petrol prices going through the roof. So we've seen some interesting times over the last few months, and how that has actually impacted in terms of the property market has been quite interesting. And I'm going to talk to that today in terms of what we've seen in terms of the shift, in terms of what the market's up to, where I believe the opportunities lie, because I think there's some great opportunities right now in the market, and also in terms of what some of the things are that you could do to make sure that there is the concept of setting yourself up or having that some kind of certainty, some kind of idea as to what's the best next steps, what's the best way that we can continue to be putting ourselves in the best position possible, so we're not reliant on other elements. So, if we do have a crazy situation where once again a lockdown happens or whatever reason, we've prepared ourselves financially, we've prepared ourselves in terms of securing income sources to be able to keep moving forward. Now, in terms of your investing, I think it's very important that within any investing situation and within any setting yourself up for the future, it's about diversifying portfolios. And I'm going to talk mainly to property space, but I'll give some insight into some of the other elements that I believe are really great elements to look forward and be aware of going forward, and what Wealth Mentor can do to help you in those spaces as well. But it's really important to diversify your thinking and your portfolio, and especially in the current times. So let's work through a few of these elements that we've seen in the current market. Number one, and something that I've actually just written a blog about, is in terms of the CCCFA, Closed Consumer Credit Finance Act, in terms of what has that done for the lending landscape in New Zealand. Well, what we saw is when it came out, first of all, in December 1st last year, is it made it really tricky. I was going to say near impossible, but it made it really tricky to acquire mainstream lending. Now, I say mainstream lending because we're talking about our main banks. We're talking about ASB, we're talking about our ANZ, our Westpacs. Because basically an act came in that meant that they had to do extra due diligence. I mean, for example, I know that one of our mortgage brokers was telling me that he's accrediting an extra 10 hours per application. His application time went from 8 to 18 hours just in terms of getting an application into the lenders because of all the extra information that was required. So the on-flow effect of this meant that people weren't able to get mainstream lending. And many of the people in the marketplace or in society have a negative stigma or negative thought process around lending from institutions that aren't banks. And this is something I think that a lot of our students have got their head around and how this can be done. And I'll talk more to that a bit later on. If you do have any questions around that side of lending as well, feel free to send me a DM as well. Jump on Instagram or on Facebook and send me a DM. I'm happy to discuss and what those sort of options are as well. But in terms of going back to the mainstream lending, what we saw is the fact that mainstream lending tightened up. And this had a bit of an impact on the market in the short term. The impact was not overly significant because of, I think, the timing of when this came in. And we often see a drop in house prices and a drop in demand over that December, January period where everybody's at the beach enjoying their summer break. But it was probably still had an effect on things. What we've then seen is it actually being altered and a slight change to the actual act. In turn, reducing some of those ridiculous elements and lending becoming a little bit easier. Now, the big thing about the lending situation is that now that lending has slightly become a bit easier in those mainstream banks, we haven't yet seen the market actually catch up on those elements. And we haven't actually seen people get back into the whole swing of things. Now, in terms of actual pricing has still gone through the roof. And well, I think that really is accredited to two really big factors. It's accredited to, first of all, the fact that our inflation is the highest we've seen since the 80s. To give you an idea, it's the highest that we've seen since I was 2 years old. I'm not giving away my age, but there's a fair few years in there. So, that's one of the key elements. And the second key element that's still meaning that house prices are fairly stable is the massive shortage of stock that we've actually still got in this country. We've got a shortage of, at last stats, it's around 30 to 40,000. I mean, we're talking about 10,000 difference there, but 30 to 40,000 houses short in this country. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that there's, the supply is something that obviously the government is trying to assist with some of the legislation. I think taxing your way into a supply issue is not quite the way to go about it, but that's a story for another day. So house prices have remained stable, and we may see some kind of a dip with the fact that, again, inflation, extra cost of living on people, as well as that the slight uncertainty in the current market. But for me, I think this provides opportunity. And I'm not going to lie, last week I did make a couple of offers because I all of a sudden realized the opportunities that we've got because of the element of people, first of all, wanting to look to get out of the market because of the fear. And fear is not a reason to sell. One thing that we always teach is only time that you can lose money in property is if you have to sell. So really thinking about the way that you set yourself up in terms of the portfolio that you're building to ensure that you aren't having to sell properties is something you certainly want to consider. Now, in terms of that, what we've seen is we've actually seen the situation where some really great deals have started to come across. And like I said, last week I made a couple of offers on properties. One of them hasn't come through, but it was about $300,000 under market value. And the other one was about $100,000 under market value. So some seriously good opportunities out there. And I think we'll start to see a few more of those elements because interest deductibility is one of the elements that has come in. And I have spoken about this in one of my former coffee catch-ups. If you want to learn more about it, definitely go back and watch that episode. But in terms of the interest deductibility, a lot of uneducated or landlords that are not up to the play will only really see the effects or start to realize the effects once they start to do their financials. And well, in a few days' time is the end of the financial year. So what we may see is a few of them going, oh, this is actually not what I imagined in terms of the interest deductibility. So you may see a couple of extra deals coming on in that regard as well. So I definitely have recommended all our students get out there and start buying because there's great opportunity. Now, coming back to it, the fact is that the whole CCCFA has meant that lending is a little bit trickier. But don't be stuck on just mainstream banks. Look at your other options. Talk to your mortgage brokers. If you need a good mortgage broker, we have got some great people as part of our network in terms of making sure that your other options. Sometimes some of these non-bank lenders are only maybe a couple of points, so like at 0.2, 0.3% higher. But you're also able to get better loan to value ratios as well. So there's some really great opportunities out there. And I think we'll see a real shift within mentality of people willing to look at other lenders and becoming a little bit of the norm. Now, coming back to interest deductibility, the talk is, and this is from political talk and how much you can rely on it, but there is talk from the National Party, who currently are looking like they may be getting in the next election, that they would completely scrap the interest deductibility, because it doesn't make sense to tax your way out of a shortage of property. So interesting one there, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next couple of years as well as we lead into that election for sure. A couple other considerations to think about as we're moving into the current times. Our borders are about to open. New Zealand borders are about to open. We've already got a massive shortage of properties. We're going to start to see a lot more workers come in because we've got a demand for workers at the moment. I mean, the unemployment is ridiculously low. There is such a shortage of skilled workers in this country. So we're going to see an influx of more people. This is still a place that people want to live. It's an amazing place. And we're going to start to see more and more people wanting to head over to NZ and live here. And again, this is going to start to drive the supply issue even higher, and in turn, be interesting to see what that has an effect on values. Now, coming back to what strategies I think are currently best in the market, to be honest, I think your best strategy right now is to buy high equity properties. What I mean is properties that have a lot of money in the buy, understand your market values, make money in the buy, but look at properties where you have the ability to increase yield through new code of compliance. I think you put those two together, you've got an absolute recipe for a delicious meal, which is going to be a really great equity uplift and some great cash flow with some awesome tax benefits. If you want to know more about this, please feel free to send me a DM, again, on Instagram or Facebook. Love being able to chat with people to be able to do this. So being able to chat to people was obviously a big goal for me for this year, because I realized that, you haven't seen me for a few months because Wealth Mentor's been so crazy with all the changes that my capacity just didn't have to be able to jump on these sort of calls. So in saying that, we have actually just taken on an operations manager at Wealth Mentor, which is so exciting. I'm so pumped to have Ivy as part of our team. And I have planned on recruiting Ivy to come on one of the next coffee catch-ups so you guys can actually get to meet Ivy. She's a former student of Wealth Mentor. She's built an exceptionally brilliant portfolio in both New Zealand and the UK, and she's been an amazing addition to the team. But what that has meant is that there is more time for us to be able to share our insights as much as possible. Actually, in saying that, we have just done a really great blog, like I mentioned earlier, that I'd love to be able to share with anyone. So if anyone wants that, again, send me a message, drop it in the chat, let us know, and I can share that with you. A bit of a blog written in terms of the market and what we've seen, and also explaining the CCCFA and the adjustments that we've seen in terms of that act. So coming back, Wealth Mentor, we've been all go. There's been a lot happening at the moment. We've been building up with a whole bunch of events, a whole bunch of summits. So let me take you through a few elements that have been happening. Now, going back, we've just launched Wealth Mentor 2.0. If you want to check out Wealth Mentor 2.0, head across to the website. I actually don't have a link for Wealth Mentor 2.0, so if any of our teams in the background that can drop Wealth Mentor 2.0 link, that'd be cool. Otherwise, again, simple, send me a message, I can flick that through to you. It was awesome to launch a new business model and introduce some of our new partners. We got some great people come on board as new partners. Had a great call yesterday with another potential new partner, which I think is going to have a huge impact for many of you guys on your wealth elements. Make sure you actually head across to our website, because all our new partners are creating content, creating blogs, video elements, so that we can continue to educate you. So head across wealthmentor.co.nz, head over to the blog page, because on there we have all the information. There's some new blogs that are going to be going up there really shortly. I know Nims, who's our man behind the scenes on the website, is working really hard on getting some more of those blogs up there so you guys get entertained and keep getting educated. Definitely go check that out. But it's been so great to be able to pull so many of the amazing partners in. Karen joined us on Wealth Mentor 2.0, a great initially part of the whole process of creating the Wealth Mentor 2.0, and one of our exceptional partners, Bella, who is an absolute legend and launching her 10-week Kickstarter, which is amazing, by the way. This lady is an absolute firecracker. She's been on the show. If you want to know more about her, head back to Coffee Catch Ups. She was end of last year, an absolutely epic lady. And like I said, we do have some really cool other partners that are starting to come on board. Head to the website and check it out in terms of all the blogs that we have going up there constantly. Now, what we have got coming up is a couple of really, really exciting events. And I'm going to start off with a summit that I'm hosting next weekend. So literally, like, we're talking less than 2 weeks away, which is the Wealth Mentor Certainty Summit. Now, this is about the concept of, well, at the moment, we have some pretty crazy uncertainty out there. I've addressed a few of those today in this chat. There's a bit of uncertainty, a bit of confusion in what steps to be taken. So we're launching a summit called Creating Certainty in Uncertain Times. Very, very exciting to be able to bring this summit to you guys. And I'm going to grab the link right now and pop it in the chat for those of you that want to register for the summit. It is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really proud to be speaking alongside a couple of really great people in Bella and Lawrence. Again, both of them have been Coffee Catch-Ups, so make sure you check out some of their stuff. There's that link in the chat now. Head across and register. It's absolutely free. It's well worth your time in listening into some of the elements that I think you could be using to create some certainty in the current market. I've been working pretty hard on the presentation. I think it's pretty epic. And I know that Bella and Lawrence have an amazing presentation for you guys as well. So make sure you head across and register yourself for that Certainty Summit. It's going to be amazing. But on top of that, I'm very excited to be bringing you guys what is going to be a very, very exciting week. And I'm personally very pumped about this one because it's a space that I've always wanted to increase my knowledge and become a better understanding of the concepts, because it's so much out there at the moment. The concept of crypto is out there, and I think there's an opportunity to really be making sure that you're ahead of the game on your education. We've been able to partner up with someone who will be coming along to present. Kyron will be hosting Crypto Week, and we are going to have some serious knowledge bombs in the space. I know that I will certainly be there that whole week and getting that knowledge, because I think it is a space that we all need to have some knowledge in. I've dropped the link into the chat there for you guys. And I'm going to share a little secret that we're working on at the moment. Because at Wealth Mentor, it's about creating wealth. You guys know that. Wealth. Now, what does wealth mean to you? Absolutely could be anything for everybody. So what we've got going on and working through at the moment is the concept of creating 7 income streams, creating 7 figures in 7 years or less. And how can you create that? Because that there is going to give you your freedom. More to come on that as the team works into it. We have actually a pretty big week here at Wealth Mentor. Once again, we've got a big planning session to end this week, all about our strategic plan for the year going forward and how we can better impact you guys and the beautiful community that we do have. So make sure you stay tuned, because we will keep you updated. Get to that website. Nims is constantly keeping it updated. He's working on it, making sure that you guys are informed and we can all become the absolute best version of ourselves. Whew. Well, I think it has been pretty exciting to be back. I'm pretty excited to be back here in front of the Coffee Catch-Ups. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, guys. If you want to get involved, make sure you do that. Make sure you jump across, you follow me on Insta, and you message me if you have any questions, because I love hearing from everybody. And as well as that, if you want to join me on the show, I'd love to hear from you as well. Everybody, get out there and have an amazing Tuesday. I will see you next week. I will let you know. Keep a lookout on social medias for the next coffee catch up. Have an amazing week. And as always, get out there and always stay awesome. Have a good afternoon, everybody.